Welcome to another edition of Talk City Greensboro, produced by GTN, featuring interviews and events happening around town. It's an easy way to stay in the know while you're on the go. Subscribe to Talk City on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or SoundCloud so you can keep up with what's going on in Greensboro City government. I'm your host, Josh Johnson, and joining me in the studio, as always, the man of the controls, Mr. Devin Smith.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, man.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's up, Greensboro? Well, COVID-19 has caused the country to rethink the way services are being delivered. Our wonderful library service was affected by this, and drastic times calls for drastic measures. Well, Bridget Blanton, the director of libraries here at the city of Greensboro, is going to tell us all about the creative ways that the library has been and are going to continue serving our residents of Greensboro. So how you doing, Bridget?
I'm doing great. Hope you guys are.
Yep. Thanks for coming.
So,
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, tell us first, how did you first respond to when everything began to close? You know, the schools closed down. That's one of the biggest populations you serve, our children. Everything started to close down, and then you get word from the city that we're going to reduce hours, we're going to close facilities. Kind of how did your department
So actually,
respond?
our department was probably a little ahead of having to respond with the city. One of the great things about being part of such a great network of libraries around the country, we knew what was happening and what was coming. So even prior to what happened when schools closed, we knew that that was going to be an option. So schools, I think they finally announced on the 14th or 15th, that's for sure that schools weren't going to happen. We saw an increase on the 16th and 17th of March of families and children in our branch libraries. We had our library managers and their staff to kind of monitor that. What we realized is that there was really not a way for us to manage and maintain becoming that destination. We are a destination place. We are a gathering place. But in the midst of COVID-19, that is not the way that things should go.
Yeah.
So what we did, and in partnership with Parks and Recreation, we were having that combined conversation because they serve similar population. We talked to our city managers and said, hey, we're not going to be able to maintain the health and safety of our customers, and that's an expectation. Specifically in libraries, we state that we're safe and welcoming places. That was not going to be the case in that moment. So on that day, March 17th, we actually fully closed all of our facilities by the end of business day on March 17th, so which was prior to the city's reduced hours for the public.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Well, after the initial thought, so you close everything down and we just kind of hunkered down for a bit. As we've moved forward, you started developing ways to interact again. So after the initial thought to stay connected through social media and realizing this summer probably would be completely different than any other summer, it was full steam ahead towards Greensboro Summer Online. So tell us about that and how it's been received by the community.
Well, I mean, we started immediately virtual programming when we were closed. So probably within a few days of closing, we had that up and running.
Yeah, okay.
And so as we were working, again, part of being good librarians, we have to always look ahead. So we're strategically ahead of most people because research is what we do. Right. And we were following the trends. We then again, because of the great relationship that we have with Parks and Recreation and even with Creative Greensboro, we realized that we can't safely bring folks back in because we're still in wave 1 of COVID-19. But we also know that libraries specifically play a huge role with kids in not, perpetuating that summer slide, that we know if kids are reading and doing things, that they're less likely to fall behind in school. But because our librarians were doing such a great job of doing virtual programming, interestingly enough, in some of our locations, the program staff, they were seeing more views of their programs that they were doing online than some of the programs they did in the building. Wow. So we were aware that this was definitely an avenue that we could use. Yeah. So we worked together. We asked them to put together a list. We knew that summer reading for us was not going to stop. It was just going to be virtual. So our Greensboro Public Library Foundation still gave us the funding. So there are still presenters that we're paying that will do presentations for us virtually. Then we realized the beauty of Zoom, right? So for our adult population, our book groups have gone on through Zoom conversations with the History Museum, which is part of us as well. The same thing. The museum actually started what's called the Lion's Den, which is their digital engagement nook,
Right.
where they're doing programming. So we are actually seeing the ability to not only impact Greensboro and Guilford County. One of our staff members has family in Durham-Raleigh area, and they said, hey, we've been watching y'all, but not only have we been watching you all, we have family in the U.S. Virgin Islands that are tuning in to your programming.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
our reach is far greater than it would have been just with in-house programming, and that means that in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Greensboro Public Library, which means the city of Greensboro, is coming out of people's mouths if they talk about great programming and things happening around. So
That's very cool.
Yeah, I think everyone's starting to realize not only the convenience but the effectiveness of distant communication through Zoom, through Facebook Live. I'm sure a lot of different things will change as we start to somewhat normalize after the pandemic. A lot more business meetings will take place through different software on video and things like that,
Right.
instead of flying someone out to do all of that. It's just a lot more convenient.
Right. Well,
True.
And even for us, I mean, and I have to say this because in the midst of businesses, small businesses specifically, and nonprofits in the community trying to figure out what to do, a lot of people don't realize that we have a business nonprofit librarian. So every single day, 5 days out of the week, I shouldn't say every single, there is an update to business and nonprofits that goes out that she has compiled about services and resources that are available to them. We continue to do job and career counseling via Zoom and those kinds of things. We actually, there's a couple of databases that we have that were probably underutilized because people just didn't recognize. But when the thing that the stay-at-home order did was it forced people to pay attention to what was available.
Right.
So
Yep.
to see some of the things that we did, like on our Ancestry.com, it was kind of watching the thread and was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And so then people are tagging their friends and those kinds of things. So people are actually realizing these free resources that come with just being a resident of Greensboro with a Greensboro Public Library card.
Yeah. So now, the libraries took it a step further, and we're moving into more services that we're going to serve. Where did the idea for curbside service come from, and tell us how it's going to work?
So it was actually, again, that's why it pays to stay connected to the network of libraries around the country. Some libraries, when they closed, actually started immediate curbside service. And curbside service means different things in different library locations. For us, it actually means folks can either call in or go online and put their request in. It takes us a few days to make sure, because if it has to come from somewhere else, we actually get those books ready, call them, and then they call us when they're coming to the library. And if, say, for example, if it's Central Library, you call us, we check the books out to you on your card then, and you pull up and you pop your trunk, and a librarian with a mask and a face shield on and gloves puts it in your trunk, closes your trunk, and you're on your way.
Wow.
Some of the others have used tables. Some of the others have used tables depending upon the design of the location. But we wanted, our folks were, they'd had their books out for a long time. They were asking us. We had to make sure what we put in place was both safe for the customer and for staff, because public safety and public health is the most important thing right now.
Yeah, and a lot of things that come from the library, it exchanges hands, people touch them. So it's important to make sure that you have time to find it, make sure that it's clean, sanitized, and then it gets to you in that same manner.
Right. Every book that we had, because of being closed so long, so that on June 1st through the 10th, actually, is when we started Curbside. We actually, the books that came back, they have to sit for 3 days, 72 hours. They are quarantined for 72 hours, and then they are sanitized before they go back out and are available for the public. So for us, it has become more labor intensive, but it's worth it to be able to get materials back in the hands of our customers.
Yeah.
That's good. That's very cool. You guys got to put this whole system together, bring it in, take care of it, get it back out. That's great. So what's next for public libraries in the face of this pandemic? Opening buildings completely to the public seems like a long-term goal. So how's the library stay connected to the community past the summertime?
Well, believe it or not, it's not even that. On June 29th, we will start what we call grab and go service, which means you actually can come in and grab something and leave within 30 minutes. We're kind of putting a time limit on that. Our staff is actually working to do two things. For folks who can come in and quickly, just grab what they need, they know it, but we're actually starting what we're calling book bundles. So if you like a specific author, we may have one or two of those books, but there's a stack that has 3 or 4 authors that may write similarly. So you can pick up that bundle and check out that bundle. So that's one of the things to make it quick, easy, and convenient. That's for adult and children. We're continuing the online programming this summer. At some point, we're also trying to figure out ways. I think our biggest concern is making sure, though, that we're reaching our impacted communities. So we've been in conversations with Parks and Recreation and the Greensboro Housing Authority and some other organizations to see if we can figure out a way that when our programming is airing virtually, can we somehow figure out a way to get that aired, possibly on some major screen. I've had people doing research on, can we get big screens that can be outside so the kids can be socially distanced, so we can make sure that we are impacting every single aspect of our population that wants to have access. So again, so that we're not creating any more inequities of service for our folks that are in impacted communities.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to program. We actually, when we talk to authors that we want to have come in or performers, we are asking the question about what are you doing virtually and what are you doing in person, because we really don't know. We are preparing that there's a potential second wave, that might come in the fall. So the plan for libraries is we will look at what is being said by the CDC and, of course, the state of North Carolina, and some of this may dial back. So we're able and have the ability, because we've done it, to move forward or dial back. But our hope is that we will continue to never have to go anywhere less than curbside if we can help it. But if it's deemed in that we have to go back under a stay-at-home, then we would, of course, just continue to do virtual programming, because we were still answering library questions and making folks library cards so they could access the digital collection, which has been there. It's amazing the number of people who didn't realize they wanted to read until they were at home. So suddenly we were getting these emails, how do I get a card? And so we were doing temporary cards for folks to be able to utilize that service from home.
Yeah,
I think the book bundle idea is genius. You're there to get a book that you want, but then it's almost like a Netflix version.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that. Netflix
That's what I thought when she mentioned it. I was like, I was thinking about the Netflix library.
Suggested to you.
Yeah,
but we've been doing that for the very existence of libraries. We've called it Reader's Advisory.
Always done that.
Yeah,
always. And so I think as I talk to my colleagues, just both here in Greensboro, in the state, and even nationally, the time for libraries is now. We didn't go away. I think when people thought that libraries would go away because of digital content, we realized that that's not the case. People need us. People want us. The number of calls and comments. We even got an email yesterday back from a customer who participated in Curbside that just was, you would have thought we had delivered, $1 million to her house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's going to happen. Libraries can rise up in many ways within mission. The Greensboro Public Library, officially now in the process of trademarking, our tagline is conduit to destiny. Whoever you are, whatever you want to be, the public library has some type of mechanism to assist you in that process to your ultimate destiny. And that is who we are, and that's who we will continue to be, in spite of the various things that happen around us, whether it's COVID-19 or, with what's going on currently in our country. We have a place in all of that, and we will continue to claim our place, because we are that neutral convener, that comfortable, safe space for people to be able to get information.
Yeah, and I definitely, speaking of that, I wanted to get in a quick question that I didn't write down about Juneteenth and the celebration, but I did want to say that I think people thought that because books and newspapers and everything just seemed so old-fashioned, that it was just gonna, it was just gonna
really
go,
to me.
it was just gonna go away like the newspaper. In news, it all had to transition and shift the way that it did things. And not only Greensboro public libraries, but libraries in general have shifted the way that they serve their community to make sure that they meet you where you are.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but tell us about Juneteenth, the celebration with parks, libraries, the History Museum,
and Creative Greensboro. We're excited because I think Councilman Woman Howtower reached out to Parks and Recreation well over a year ago, and then April Parker serves on our library board of trustees. And April's a librarian. A lot of people don't realize that. She's a school librarian. So as we were all talking through, like, what can we do? Because the original intention was to have the festival this year for it to be that. So it's like, what can you do? What can we do? It didn't take us, I think we probably planned a full day's worth of programming for the most part in probably less than 24 hours. It includes story reading. It includes DIYs. It's going to include art performances. It's going to include Zoom meetings that people can register for to talk about topics related to Juneteenth. And it's pretty much, we're taking over the city's Facebook page for that day because it has to be a coordinated effort to be able to do that. But that's just an example of how libraries, parks and recreations, museums, and Creative Greensboro can come together with community to do those kinds of things. And I think virtually, one of the things that we talked about Parks and Rec, we were discussing, like, what were the games, what were kids doing? Because those kinds of things can also be incorporated in a virtual experience. And so people can tune in at whatever time they decide, but you also, you can save it and then you can look at it later. That is also the beauty of learning how to use virtual services. We have impacted parents and kids who could not come inside our facilities at the time that we were doing programming that can now access it whenever they want to as a family. I hope that what we've done in all of this, will we continue to do programming in person when we can? Most definitely. Will we be strategic about which ones happen in person and which ones happen online? Most definitely. Will we probably always, when there's a Juneteenth or a major festival, look at a way to make sure the online presence supports the in-person? Most definitely. Business has changed forever. There is only the new normal that is being formed as we go.
Yeah, definitely. And next week's podcast will be with Nasha, the director of Parks and Rec, so we'll get more Juneteenth information about that. But tell us where, so it's going to be pretty much on the city's Facebook page, and that's where you can find everything. Can you find a schedule?
Yes, we're finalizing the schedule today, so you'll start seeing that being posted probably tomorrow, probably most likely, which would be a week ahead of the event. And I think when you're talking about Facebook and virtual, that's about how people can look at and start to plan for that. So it's going to be there. Of course, we're going to do, the press release for that. Our own Facebook pages for the different departments and divisions will also be tagged, so you can go to our pages and see the information as well. The Zoom ones, those go out because a lot of that's going to require some registration for a few of them because we have some experts that are coming in. But it's going to be phenomenal. I mean, I'm excited because I realize that I can tell my friends that have small children, but I can also tell my 76-year-old aunt who's going to love being able to be on Zoom to have some of those historical conversations. So it is covering everybody. And then there's the whole dance and art and spoken word pieces of it. I mean, wow, who wouldn't want to be part of it?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yes, it is. Yes, very exciting.
And I think it's something that the country needs right now, especially our community. So
definitely,
it'll be a great celebration. A lot to learn for some of the younger and older people who really don't know what Juneteenth is.
That's right.
So it's going to be fun. Everyone should check it out.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, thank you, Bridget, for coming and giving us all this great information, how people can stay connected to the public libraries, even as we, socially distance or physically distance, as some people like to say. You've done a great job.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having us. And of course, we appreciate you guys and what you do to get the word out. So keep doing the great job that you're doing as well.
Thank you. Stay tuned in weekly by subscribing to Talk City Greensboro on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. And don't forget, you can download Talk City from SoundCloud.
That's it for this week. Thank you for tuning in to Talk City. Be sure to watch GTN, your official source of news and information from the city of Greensboro. GTN is available on Spectrum Channel 13,
AT&T UVerse Channel 99,
North State Channel 31.
GTN also streams live and now on Roku and the city's website at greensboro-nc.gov.
Have a good one.
Take care.